Welcome back, everybody. So glad you could be here with me today. Walter here at the workbench, preparing to make some shellac. Before we go there, I want to thank each and every one of you for all your well wishes and for watching the videos I had prepped for before the surgery and after the surgery. So this is day 3, or the second day after the surgery. So, as you can see, I'm still here. So that's one worry gone. I was going through some books upstairs and I found the infamous Anarchists design book. That's going to have to go up on the shelf somewhere. And then I found Matt Bickford's book on moldings in practice. That's on all your molding planes. And then there was this little gem on window and door making, or door making and window making. Depends how you put the words, Those all came from the Lost Art Press. And if you ever buy anything from the Lost Art Press because I mentioned their name, tell them Dusty Splinters sent you. But I think the most intriguing book that I found, and one that I was actually looking for, is this one. Coffin Making and Undertaking. So the reason why I was looking for this book is because we recently made some real estate purchases. We bought some of the land we will need last. Yes, cemetery plots. And while we were putting our wishes in place so that children or grandchildren do not have to worry about that, because the last thing I want is somebody to have to worry about what they're going to do with this when I'm gone. So, found this one, and so I was contemplating, and I ran this by my better half, the one who keeps me straight and on the correct path. And we opted for a green burial. Now, what is a green burial? A green burial is the way it used to be. You pass away, and they put you in the ground. That's it. Nothing else required. So in this book, there's charts and drawings on how to build your own coffin. And there's coffins of different types. So I have wood here. So I ran it by her and I said, do you want me to build both of our coffins now? And like we can use them as coffee tables or not? But no, basically build them now, wrap them up, and leave them out in the barn. When the time comes, the undertaker will know where they are, and Bob's your uncle. She was not adverse to that, but like I said, we opted for the green burial, and the green burial requires that whatever method you have chosen to be laid to rest in, it could be a simple cotton shroud, it can be an approved cardboard box, believe it or not. And they have other things that are made in natural materials. So I got to thinking, what's more natural than a pine box with iron nails? No varnish, no stain, no paint, no plastic liners, no fancy satin or anything like that. So That's on the back burner because I am going to prophetically claim it's in the distant, distant future. Now, on to the topic of the day, how to make shellac. You take shellac flakes, put them in a jar, add alcohol, stir and shake over a period of time until it's fully dissolved, and voila, you have shellac. A little bit more scientific than that, but that's how it goes. Now, we are going to need my scale, and it's right here somewhere. Oh, it was right here. I'll find it. It'll catch the corner of my eye and I will find it. If not, I will go chase after it. Ah, there it is. Scale. Now, making shellac is a formula, not a recipe, a formula. Recipes are for chefs. They put this and that and this and that and this and that in a pot and they make something. It's not quite the same with a paint or varnish or shellac. It's a recipe. It works on percentages. And in fact, bread baking uses formula, not recipes like they call them, because everything works on percentages. 2% of yeast, 2%, 1% of salt maybe, or 3% of butter, whatever. Okay, there's baker's percentages. So what we're going to do is take this jar, and I only need a small amount of shellac. So we'll put that in a clean jar, and we will zero it out. Now, in order to make shellac, there are 3 typical versions that you'll find out there. The top one is the thickest. It's called 3-pound cut. Then you have 2-pound cut and 1-pound cut. And that just simply means how many pounds of shellac are you putting in 1 gallon of alcohol? All right. So I did some fratigating, some gunculating, I did some math. And I'm going to go with, to start, a 2-pound cut. I think it's a little thick. I don't know. But I'm going to use ounces and grams. I know I probably should have converted everything to grams, but I didn't. I converted the alcohol to ounces and I converted the shellac to grams. So a 3-pound cut uses 10.63 grams per ounce. A 2-pound cut uses 7.09 grams per ounce. And a 1-pound cut is 3.54 grams per ounce. I think I'll go with the 2-pound because if the 2-pound is too thick, I can always add more alcohol. You can't take alcohol away. You have to add more shellac, and then I'll end up with too much shellac. Now, there's some fancy chemistry involved with the minute you open an alcohol bottle where it interacts with the moisture, water moisture in the air, and the water displaces or becomes part of the alcohol. You can look that all up. It's a big fancy chemical change thing. But basically, the reason why we don't mix too much shellac is because if it's not in 100% tight container, in a cool, dark place, it goes bad. So I'm going to make, I really should convert the weight. Now, I brought a second phone in because I thought I might need it. Let me ask the world. Let's see. What is the weight of an ounce of isopropyl alcohol? It's not giving me an answer. So convert 1 ounce isopropyl alcohol to grams. Yeah, it's not going to work. I don't think I have 1 bar in here. Well, I should have done that, and I didn't. Oh, wait. Here we go. Ounces of isopropyl, 1 US fluid ounce of isopropyl alcohol equals 23.2 grams. Okay. Thank you. So 23.2 grams per ounce. So if I'm making a 2-pound cut, and let's say I want to make let's see what 2 ounces looks like. We would need 46.4 ounces of alcohol. Okay, I managed to make a little bit of a mess. It is just alcohol, so it's not a big deal. So I've got somewhere around 47, 48 ounces. So I went a little high. So now to that, we want to add 14.2. That's 12. That's 14, and there's some scraps on the bench, which I'll pick up. So there is the formulation. Now all you do is take some sort of a stir. I'm using a bamboo skewer, and you just keep it moving around. so it doesn't become one big lump. And I think that might be enough shellac, especially if I cut it with a little additional alcohol. So I'm going to gather up what remaining little bits of flakes that I dropped on the workbench. And we'll add them in. There we go. And that's all there is to it. Now the big thing is to cover it so that you have the least amount of air and you can swirl it. And that's it. Now we wait. I'll come back tomorrow, stir it, swirl it until it's dissolved. It's not dissolving as fast as in ethanol, but I figure isopropyl is used in medical situations, so it's the safest form for me right now. Questions down in the comments section. Thumbs up if you like the video. Ideas, suggestions, etc. We look forward to hearing from you. And that's it for now. This is your good friend, Walter, out.